just south of Queensboro Plaza, just on the Queens side of the Ed Cottage 59th Queensboro Bridge. And we're gonna walk underneath the elevated 7 train here from Queensboro Plaza down to Jacson, and then probably cut right and check out the East River, get a view of Manhattan from there. This is the neighborhood of Long Island City. Long Island City was incorporated as its own city, had its own mayor, starting in 1874, in the 1870s. But then, as with everything else in what was then called Queens County, it was annexed into New York City, and now it's just a neighborhood within the borough of Queens. The 7 train goes into Flushing, Queens, where its last stop is in downtown Flushing. Also stops at Citi Field. It has approximately 15 stops in Queens before it gets to the end point in Flushing. And all of that, prior to going underneath the East River to Manhattan, all of those, or 14 out of those 15 stations, are elevated as we are right now, underneath the L. At least so far, does not seem to be nearly as commercial as the streets along other elevated trains in New York City, like you might find in Roosevelt Boulevard in Queens, or Jerome Avenue, or White Plains Road in the Bronx. I think it does get to be more commercial as we get closer to Jacson Avenue. As I cut to the left, you can see many of the high-rises, both corporate and residential, that are dotting Long Island City. So it's past 20 or so years, it's really transformed itself into a real business center, separate and distinct from Manhattan's. There are several corporate headquarters here located in Long Island City. And for those who live in Queens or Brooklyn and can find jobs in these locations, it saves them a lot on commute. Or it might actually even be realistic to drive to work, unlike if their job was in Manhattan. Across the river, we can see some of the super new high-rise towers in midtown Manhattan. Lots of construction going on both sides of the street on this stretch of 23rd Street. I grew up in the Bronx near Jerome Avenue and the 4 train, and this does remind me of some stretches that were not commercial. For example, if you got south of Mosholu Parkway. You can also take the E train to get to Long Island City. Yep, straight ahead we get a clearer view of many of the super high-rise residential towers going up in midtown Manhattan. Some of them 100 stories higher than anything except the World Trade Center in Manhattan right now. Let's take a look down here at some of the brownstone style apartments that are very common more in Brooklyn or in Harlem, but this part of Queens and Long Island City also has them. Style homes goes back to the 1800s. Visually very appealing architecture, but no elevators, so if you're moving in, be prepared. This is the southwestern corner of Queens, so we're actually quite close to Brooklyn. And this area is a somewhat older area of Queens, so that explains the architecture of the housing we're seeing. Okay, we're approaching Jacson, so it is getting more commercial finally. Up ahead of us is 5 Points with a Z, 5 Points LIC. Not to be confused with 5 Points from the movie Gangs of New York, that's location in Lower Manhattan. But 5 Points for many years, 5 Points Queens, or LIC, was a building for artists, a building that was full of graffiti from an artistic standpoint, and then became a home for artists. But in 2014, the owner unexpectedly whitewashed all of the graffiti and sold the property to develop this very large business tower we see in front of us. He was sued by many of the artists that had been employed in the former building and whose art was removed from the prior building. You can kind of understand why he might have wanted to sell the property, because I'm sure this building, with its many floors, does quite well when it comes to business rents in New York. Just down the road, it looks like the 7 train will merge with the LIRR and start to head underground. So let's just make a right on Jacson. And the art theme continues. In front of us, we have the MoMA PS1 museum, well known for its art. It's been a museum since the early 1970s. Before that, it was a public school with the name PS1, indicating it was the first public school in New York City. In reality, it was not. There was 3 other PS1s, and the one in Manhattan was genuinely the first. But this was the first public school in Queens. The Long Island City Post Office up ahead and across the street to the right.
I guess I'm not.
Up ahead, we're approaching Vernon Boulevard. As we make our way to the East River. To our right is the Queensboro or Edcotch Bridge. We'll go left a little bit. Check out some of the restaurants on Vernon Boulevard. So it looks like lots of good pubs and restaurants to choose from here. It's late afternoon, so not a lot of people here, but I'm sure at nighttime it should be a very popular spot. Alright, we'll head over to Gantry State Park. Should give us a good view of downtown Manhattan. All right, in full view across the river is Midtown Manhattan. Based on the position of the buildings, I think we're roughly across the street from 40th to 42nd. With some of the new residential high-rises that have gone up, both around 42nd and also on 57th. The Empire State Building, formerly the second tallest building in New York City, doesn't look so tall anymore. It's 86 stories, being dwarfed by some of the approximately 100-story new towers that are being constructed. This is the Urban Walker checking out from Long Island City, Queens, New York. Until the next walk, see ya. Please subscribe. Please like the channel. Till the next time.